Welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be exploring this whole concept of manifestation.
Okay.
You sent over this episode called Manifest Your Magic,
Right.
and I have to admit, when I first saw the title, I was a little like, oh boy, is this
Yeah.
going to be one of those like, just, think positive and everything will magically appear.
hmm
But then I started listening to it, and I really appreciated how they framed it.
Oh, good.
It's not about just wishing for things. It's about like really taking an active role in shaping our reality.
Definitely. And that's what the source really emphasizes too. It's this idea of like co-creating with the universe.
Well,
It's not just, sitting back and hoping for the best, but really like actively participating.
yeah, and they use this great analogy about planting a seed.
Oh,
You
yeah.
plant the seed of your desire, but then you got to nurture it. You got to give it
Mhm.
the right conditions to grow.
It's such a great metaphor, right? Because it's not just about setting an intention, but it's about the thoughts and the beliefs and the actions that actually help that seed to grow.
Yeah, so it's like that interplay of mindset and action.
Exactly.
And I know they dive into like 5 key principles of manifestation.
Yes, they do.
So I'm really curious to unpack those.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the first one that really stood out to me was clarity.
Okay.
Like they were saying, you have to be super specific about what you want to manifest.
Absolutely. Because we have these kind of vague desires like, oh, I want to be happy or I want more money.
Yeah, like everybody wants that, right?
Right, exactly. But what does that actually look like? What does being happy mean for you in your life?
Right. What would that job be?
Exactly. The more specific you can be, the more you can align your energy and actions towards that.
So instead of saying like, I want a better job, it's more like, I want to be, the head of marketing,
Yeah.
a company that's doing good in the world.
Exactly. Like give yourself those specifics and then you can start to actually see the steps.
Okay. So we have clarity.
Yeah.
And then the next principle was belief,
Yes, belief.
which I think is where it gets a little tricky.
Right.
Because those doubts can creep in so easily.
It's so true. And the source talks about how belief is built through these small wins,
Oh, interesting.
So it's not like you have to have this blind faith right from the start.
Okay.
It's about setting these small, achievable goals and actually achieving them.
Okay. So each win kind of like builds your confidence.
Exactly. And it reinforces your belief in yourself.
I like it.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you believe in yourself, the more likely you are to take the actions that will lead to success.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So we've got clarity. We've got belief.
Yeah.
What's the next principle?
The next one is alignment. And the
Yeah.
source describes this as like living as if.
Living as if.
Yeah, it's about embodying the qualities and the behaviors of the person you want to become.
Okay. So if you want to be more confident, you start acting in confident ways.
Exactly. And it's interesting because it ties into this psychological concept of cognitive dissonance.
Mm-hmm.
We naturally want our beliefs and actions to be in harmony. So if you're acting in a certain way,
Yeah.
it can actually start to shift your beliefs.
So it's not about faking it till you make it.
No, it's more about aligning your inner world with your desired outer reality.
I like that distinction.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got clarity, belief, alignment. That brings us to what inspired action.
Yes, inspired action. This is a big one.
So you can have the vision, you can have
Yeah.
the belief, but without action, nothing happened.
Exactly. But it's not just any action, right? It's inspired action.
So what makes it inspired?
It's about being receptive to those intuitive nudges and those opportunities that come your way.
Okay.
Like you get this idea or you feel drawn to something and it just feels aligned with your goals.
So like if I'm feeling called to go to a certain event or take a class,
Exactly. That could be inspired action.
it's like trusting your gut.
Trusting that inner knowing and being willing to act on it, even if it doesn't always make logical sense.
It's interesting because sometimes those things that don't make sense logically end up being the best things.
Right. And the source actually says that these inspired actions are often the universe's way of like nudging us in the right direction.
So it's like a little wink from the universe.
Exactly.
Okay, so we have clarity, belief, alignment, inspired action. What's the fifth and final principle?
The fifth one is gratitude.
Gratitude. I'm a little confused by that.
I know, it sounds a little counterintuitive, right? Like, shouldn't you be grateful after you manifest something?
Yeah.
But the source says that gratitude is about cultivating this attitude of abundance and appreciation.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that you're already worthy of receiving,
Well.
that you're already enough. And that mindset shift can be really powerful.
So it's not about saying thank you for giving me this. It's about being grateful for the opportunity to experience this.
Yes, exactly. It's about appreciating the journey, the lessons learned, the small wins along the way. And the source says that when you focus on what you're grateful for, you actually shift your energy to a more receptive state.
That's interesting. So it's like gratitude is almost like a magnet.
In a way, yes, it attracts more good things into your life.
Okay, so we have these 5 key principles.
Mhm.
Clarity, belief, alignment, inspired action, and gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do we actually put this into practice?
Well, this source actually outlines a 5-step plan.
Okay, a 5-step plan.
Yeah,
It sounds very actionable.
it is. It's very practical and easy to follow.
Okay, I'm excited to dive into that.
Yeah, let's do it.
So what's step number 1?
Step 1 is all about getting super clear on your vision. And I don't just mean thinking about it, I mean like really fleshing it out in detail.
So we're talking like vision boards, mood boards,
Yeah.
detailed descriptions.
Exactly. And the source even recommends going beyond just the visuals, like engage all your senses. What does it feel like to achieve this goal? What sounds and smells are associated with it? What emotions does it evoke?
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's like creating a multisensory experience in your mind.
It's almost like tricking your brain into thinking it's already happening.
Exactly. And that can be so powerful.
So step 1 is all about creating that vivid, multisensory vision. Okay, what's next?
Step 2 builds on that vision with daily visualization.
Okay, so this is where we actually take some time to really immerse ourselves in that vision.
Exactly. Like dedicate a few minutes each day to really feel the emotions of having already achieved your goal.
So I imagine things like guided meditations, visualizations would be helpful here.
Absolutely. There are a ton of resources out there to help you with that.
Yeah.
But even without any tools, you can just close your eyes, breathe deeply, and let that detailed vision you created in step 1 come to life.
Okay, so we're getting clear on the vision. We're visualizing it daily.
Right.
What's step 3?
Step 3 is all about using affirmations to reprogram our subconscious minds.
Affirmations. Now, I know a lot of people are skeptical of affirmations.
I know. But the source emphasizes that our thoughts and beliefs have a direct impact on our reality. So by consciously choosing positive, empowering statements, we can start to shift those negative patterns.
It's like rewiring our brains for success.
Exactly. And there's actually research to back this up. The field of neuroplasticity shows that our brains are constantly changing and adapting. So by consistently feeding our minds with positive affirmations, we can literally rewire our neural pathways.
So instead of saying, I'm not good enough, we say, I am capable and worthy.
Exactly. You're replacing those limiting beliefs with empowering ones. And the more you repeat those affirmations, the more they start to seep into your subconscious and influence your thoughts, feelings, and actions.
It's like creating a new internal dialogue.
Mm.
Okay, so we're visualizing, we're using affirmations. What's step 4?
Step 4 is where we take that inspired action.
Right. So we can't just sit around and wait for things to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source gives a great tip here. Break down those big, overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Okay, so instead of focusing on like writing an entire book, you break it down into writing a chapter a day.
Exactly. They call these micro actions.
Micro actions, I like that.
And by focusing on those smaller steps, you build momentum and you avoid getting overwhelmed.
It also helps with procrastination.
Right.
Because sometimes we get so intimidated by the big picture.
Absolutely. Breaking it down into bite-sized pieces makes it feel less daunting.
Okay, so step 4 is about taking inspired action and breaking down those big goals into micro actions. What's the final step?
Step 5 is all about cultivating gratitude.
Gratitude again. I thought we already covered that.
It did. But the source suggests a specific practice for this step, keeping a gratitude jar.
A gratitude jar. I've heard of a gratitude journal, but what's a gratitude jar?
It's simple. Each day, you write down 3 things you're grateful for, big or small, and you drop those notes into a jar.
So it could be anything like a good cup of coffee, a sunny day.
Exactly. And the source says it's good to revisit those notes periodically.
To kind of remind yourself of all the good things?
Exactly. It reinforces that feeling of gratitude and helps to attract more abundance.
Okay, so we have our 5-step plan. Create a clear vision, visualize it, daily use affirmations, take inspired action, and cultivate gratitude.
Yep, that's it.
But I know the source also talks about some common pitfalls to avoid.
They do, because even with the best intentions, we can fall into some traps that can sabotage our manifestation journey.
I'm sure we've all been
Yeah,
there.
for sure. So I think it's really helpful to be aware of these pitfalls so we can avoid them.
Okay, so what's the first pitfall we need to watch out for?
The first one is impatience.
Impatience. I can definitely see that one.
We live in a world of instant gratification, so it's natural to want to see results quickly. But the source reminds us that manifestation is a process that unfolds over time.
So it's like planting that seed. You can't expect it to sprout overnight.
Exactly. It takes time for things to grow and develop.
So we need to cultivate patience.
Yes, patience and trust.
Trust that the universe is working its magic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so impatience. What's the next pitfall?
The next one is vagueness. Remember how we talked about the importance of being clear and specific?
Right.
Well, when our goals are vague, our actions tend to be unfocused and scattered.
This is like saying, I want to travel more versus I want to go to Italy next year.
Exactly. That specificity gives you something concrete to aim for.
Okay, so we have impatience, vagueness. What else?
The next one is inconsistency.
Inconsistency. I think this is a big one for a lot of people.
It is. We start out strong with our practices, but then life gets in the way and we lose momentum.
Yeah, it's easy to fall off track.
It is. But the source emphasizes that consistency is key. Even if you can only dedicate a few minutes each day to your practice, it's better than doing a big burst of effort one day and then neglecting it for weeks.
So it's about making it a habit.
Exactly. Create a routine around it. Maybe you do your visualizations first thing in the morning, or you write in your gratitude jar before bed.
Okay, so consistency is crucial. What's the final pitfall?
The final one is attachment.
Attachment.
We get so attached to a specific outcome that we miss out on other opportunities that might be even better.
So it's about surrendering control.
In a way, yes. It's about trusting that the universe might have a different path in store for us.
So instead of clinging to a specific job offer, we focus on the feeling of fulfillment that we believe that job will bring.
Exactly. You're opening yourself up to a wider range of possibilities.
Then sometimes those unexpected opportunities turn out to be the best ones.
Absolutely. So it's about being open to those detours and trusting that the journey itself will lead you to where you need to be.
That's a really powerful perspective shift. Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. The principles, the 5 steps, the pitfalls. But I think it would be really helpful to hear a real-world example of how this all works.
I agree. Sometimes it helps to see how these principles play out in someone's life.
The source actually shares a really interesting story about how he manifested a book deal.
Wow, a book deal. That's a big one.
Yeah, and he breaks down how he used these same principles and steps that we've been talking about.
I'm curious to hear this. Let's dive into that story.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so tell me about this book deal.
Well, he really started by immersing himself in the vision.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't just like, oh, I want a book deal. It was like he was visualizing himself, holding the book, seeing his name on the cover, even imagining the smell of the freshly printed pages.
Wow, so he really brought it to life in his mind.
Yeah, he created this whole multi-sensory experience.
That's powerful.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about visualization.
Uh-huh.
He also really committed to taking action.
Okay.
He set a schedule for himself, and he started writing even before he had an agent or a publisher.
That's impressive, because it's one thing to dream about it, but it's another thing to actually put in the work.
Yeah, exactly. And he talks about how he faced a lot of rejection along the way. Yeah.
Right, because I imagine in the publishing world that's pretty common.
Yeah, he got a lot of no's from agents and publishers.
Oh, wow.
But instead of letting that discourage him, he used it as an opportunity to refine his book proposal, his pitch,
Yeah.
and really figure out who his target audience was.
That's such a great mindset, because so often we let rejection stop us.
Yeah, it's easy to get discouraged.
But he turned it into a learning experience.
Exactly. And ultimately, after 6 months of persistent effort, he landed a book deal.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's a real-life example of how, manifestation isn't about just wishing for things.
Right.
It's about taking those steps and trusting the timing of things.
And it shows that it's not always easy, right? It took him 6 months of hard work.
Yeah, it wasn't an overnight success story.
But he was consistent, and he believed in his vision.
And he was willing to adapt and learn from those setbacks.
Exactly. And I think that's so important, because there are going to be challenges along the way.
Yeah, life is unpredictable.
Right. So how do we navigate those challenges without losing sight of our goals?
That's a great question. How do we stay resilient when things get tough?
I think it starts with self-awareness, being able to recognize those negative thoughts and beliefs that might be holding you back.
So it's being able to catch yourself when you start to doubt yourself.
And then consciously choosing to focus on those more positive and empowering thoughts.
So it's about shifting that internal dialogue.
Yeah, and practices like journaling or meditation can be really helpful for that. They allow you to kind of tune into your inner world and become more aware of those patterns.
And I imagine having a supportive community can also make a big difference.
Absolutely. Surrounding yourself with people who believe in you and your dreams can be so powerful.
Yeah, because when you're feeling discouraged, It's helpful to have people who can lift you up.
Exactly. They can offer a different perspective, a listening ear, and that much-needed boost of motivation.
Okay, so we have resilient self-awareness community. What else do we need to navigate those challenges?
Well, I think flexibility is also really important
Okay.
because sometimes we get so attached to a specific outcome that we miss out on other opportunities that might be a better fit.
So it's about being open to those unexpected detours.
Yeah, and trusting that the universe might have a different plan in mind.
It's like sometimes what we think we want isn't actually what we need.
Right, and when we release that attachment and surrender to the process, we open ourselves up to all sorts of possibilities.
So it's about trusting that the journey itself will lead us to where we're meant to be.
Exactly. And celebrating those small wins along the way.
Right, because those little victories can really keep us motivated.
Absolutely. They remind us that we're making progress even if it's not always obvious.
And that brings us back to gratitude, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being thankful for what we've already manifested, but also for the journey itself.
For the lessons learned and the opportunities for growth.
And the fact that we're even on this path in the first place.
Exactly, because it's a privilege to be able to pursue our dreams.
Okay, so as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think the key takeaway is that manifestation is not magic.
Right.
It's mindset meets motion.
I love that. It really captures the essence of it.
It's about cultivating the right mindset and taking inspired action towards our goals.
And being resilient, self-aware, connected to a supportive community, and flexible.
Yeah, and I think the story we just discussed really highlights that.
It shows that manifestation is a lived experience that can lead to real results.
So it's not just some mystical concept.
It's something that we can all tap into.
Yeah, we all have the power to create the life we desire.
But it takes effort and intention.
Now, I know you wanted to talk about the closing message of that Manifest Your Magic episode.
Yes. They ended with a really powerful question that I think is a perfect way to wrap up our conversation.
I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. Okay, so they asked, if manifestation is this superpower, there's a blend of mindset and motion,
Yeah.
what's one tiny step that you can take, like today, to move towards a goal that's been calling to you?
It's such a great question because it really emphasizes that it's not about having it all figured out or waiting for the perfect moment.
Right.
It's about just taking that first step.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes this so empowering.
Yeah.
It's not about relying on luck or fate or anything external.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that we actually have the power to shape our own reality.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes that first step is the hardest one.
Oh, totally. Because we can get so caught up in overthinking things.
Right? We think we need the perfect plan or the perfect strategy.
Yeah.
But it's like the path unfolds as you walk it,
I love it.
You take one step and then the next step becomes clear.
It's like you're creating the map as you go.
Exactly.
And that's where those principles come in, right?
Yeah. Having that clear vision, believing in yourself, being willing to take those inspired actions.
And remembering to celebrate those small wins along the way.
Oh, yeah. Those are so important because they help us to stay motivated and to build that momentum.
And it brings us back to gratitude, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about being thankful for the end result.
Right.
It's about appreciating the whole journey,
The lessons learned and the challenges overcome the growth that we experience along the way.
And I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not just about the destination.
It's about the transformation.
Yeah, it's about becoming the best version of ourselves as we pursue our dreams.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes manifestation so powerful.
Yeah, it's not just about getting what we want.
It's about becoming who we're meant to be.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with that same question.
Yeah.
What's one small step that you can take today?
To move towards that goal that's been calling to you.
What dream has been whispering in your ear waiting to be brought to life?
You have the power to make it happen.
And remember, the universe has got your back.
It's conspiring with you to support you every step of the way.
That's all for this deep dive, folks.
Thanks for listening.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.
And we'll see you next time.
Keep exploring, keep growing, and keep manifesting your magic.